LeBron James is one of the most polarizing NBA players of all time. He has a huge fan base that loves him and will support his every step on his quest to becoming the greatest basketball player of all time. But at the same time, he also has a huge share of detractors and critics who often discredit some of James's biggest accomplishments and magnify his mistakes and shortcomings. LeBron haters and detractors are not only found within fan bases in the NBA community, but also among other NBA players. Today, we will take a look at the most stupid things other NBA players have said about Los Angeles Lakers superstar LeBron James. But before we do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. In the middle of the 2020 NBA playoffs held inside the NBA bubble, Charles Barkley made an appearance on The Dan Patrick Show. There, he said LeBron James was still 7th in his all-time rankings, one spot behind Kobe Bryant. Patrick was very surprised Barkley didn't have James in his top 5. Charles told him winning his 4th championship would move LeBron a lot closer to Kobe, but not get him there yet because he's playing with Anthony Davis. Patrick questioned Barkley's logic, saying, "Yeah, most great players played with other great players." "Yes, you are correct," answered Barkley. "But the difference is, I've always believed that LeBron manufactured when he went to Miami and got Dwayne and Chris. And then when he went to the Lakers, once Anthony Davis signed with Clutch Sports, you knew it was a matter of time before he came to the Lakers." So listen, like I said, I'm never going to say anything bad about LeBron, but you have to factor in he does manufacture his teams where they become really good quickly. This is one of the most common arguments LeBron James haters use against him, saying he only won his championships because he went and built super teams. For starters, LeBron James has to be a lock in everybody's top 5 best players of all time. The guy has beaten almost every record there is and is arguably the most complete and versatile player in the history of the game. If you don't think he belongs in the GOAT conversation or in the top 3 all time, that's respectable, but saying he's not even top 5 is disrespectful. People also tend to forget that James spent 7 years as the best player on a Cleveland Cavaliers franchise that could never get him decent help. His 2 best teammates throughout Cavs runs from 2003 to 2010 were Mo Williams and Zydrunas Ilgauskas. Still, and against all odds, James led the Cavaliers to the NBA Finals in 2007. Those Cavs, of course, had no business against a Spurs dynasty that had 3 Hall of Famers in their primes and one of the best coaches ever. The Cavaliers' incompetent front office never got LeBron any help, and people are surprised that after 7 years, he left to a good organization that actually helped him win a championship. It's just ridiculous to think a superstar player should stay on a team that keeps losing and on a franchise that doesn't help at all. Oh, and did Charles Barkley forget he was chasing rings near the end of his career? After winning a league MVP with the Phoenix Suns, but still being unable to win a championship, Barkley threatened the Suns, telling them he would retire if they didn't trade him to a contender. Phoenix granted his wish and traded him to the back-to-back champions, the Houston Rockets, to play alongside Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon. Barkley failed to win a championship and retired after 4 years in Houston. So maybe that's why he's so bitter with LeBron. Barkley isn't the only player who has LeBron James outside of his top 5. Paul Pierce, one of James's biggest critics and an arch nemesis of LeBron during his playing days, also has him outside of his top 5, and you won't believe his arguments to back that claim up. This is why, and it all came from The Last Dance episode 10, and they went back to a clip. So, Michael Jordan, when he said, "I want to build up an organization, similar to what the Boston Celtics are, what the 76ers are, and we all know what the Lakers tradition is. All the great players built up their tradition of their organizations. So when I go back and I talk about these players and the top 5 players to not only build up organizations or help continue the organization tradition a la Kobe, I go back and I ask myself, what has LeBron done to build up any organization from the ground up?" Jay Williams, another former NBA player who was on the same show that day with Pierce, summed it up best when he asked, "What does that have to do with being one of the greatest of all time?" Paul Pierce is known to be one of the biggest LeBron detractors, and chances are Pierce is just petty that LeBron and the Heat destroyed him nearly every year in the playoffs. This type of logic is exactly what takes away any credibility from NBA player opinions, especially those that refuse to acknowledge the greatness in the evolution of modern basketball. Pierce isn't the only petty former Celtic who had some big words to say about James, as Kevin Garnett recently said that the 2000 Celtics broke LeBron James in the playoffs and forced him out of Cleveland in 2010. When KG hopped on the Complex Sports podcast, host Zion Olajide asked him to elaborate on the previous broke claim, and Garnett happily obliged. For all you LeBron lovers who don't know anything, who was actually 4 to even 2 years old when I was talking about this, I get it. You're defending, you love LeBron, when we formed in Boston and you can never get past that. That's why I say we took the jersey off in 2010. He buried that jersey under the TD Bank Arena. That 23 Bron jersey was buried under the Garden. Garnett is metaphorically saying that the Celtics forced LeBron to leave the Cavs after beating Cleveland in the 2008 and 2010 playoffs, making an emphasis on how they broke LeBron and buried his jersey under the Celtics arena. How dare Kevin Garnett say stuff like this? The Celtics had a team that featured Garnett, Pierce, Ray Allen, and Rajon Rondo. That's 4 Hall of Famers led by a Hall of Fame coach in Doc Rivers as well. Meanwhile, LeBron James had Mo Williams, Anton Jamison, and a 37-year-old Shaquille O'Neal. What's crazier is that the Cavs forced a Game 7 in 2008 and lost in 6 games in 2010. So it wasn't even an easy fight for the Celtics, yet KG still insists that they broke LeBron. Garnett sounds ridiculous as James and the Cavs gave them a huge fight, and Bron actually got his revenge on the Celtics in his tenure with the Heat. Before the 2020 NBA Finals, Scottie Pippen did an interview with Forbes where he discussed LeBron James and the upcoming matchup between the Lakers and the Miami Heat. Pippen said, "I don't take nothing away from the Lakers and LeBron going to his 10th Finals, but he still has to prove he can lead a team himself. I think Anthony Davis has shown he's more valuable to them on the offensive end." Think for a second how ridiculous of a statement this is. What does James have to prove? 7 years in Cleveland leading mediocre teams to the East Finals and the NBA Finals apparently aren't enough for Pippen, who may also have forgotten James had arguably the greatest playoff run in NBA history in 2018, where he averaged 34 points, 9 assists, and 9 rebounds on 54% shooting from the field and 34% from beyond the arc. All of this while single-handedly leading the Cavs to the NBA Finals. That's also quite a bold statement considering Pippen never led any team anywhere by himself, and he knows firsthand that it's very hard to win championships when you don't have at least another big star, like his early 90s Bulls did with him and Michael Jordan. You'd think Pippen should know better. Who do you think said the stupidest things about LeBron James? Which other dumb comments from other NBA players on the King did we miss? Tell us in the comments down below, and once again, make sure to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching another Swish Central video, and join us next time for more NBA basketball content.